Great. So we're here at Devoxx 2013. We're back, and we have the Angular guys, Igor and Misko. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You guys
Thank
were
you.
very popular last year. I think you did even better this year. You were all over the place. So you had a university session, 3 hours, which will be online, and I heard good things about it, how you managed those 3 hours. You had a code lab, which
Yep.
was kind of full.
Yeah,
Lots of
collab
people.
was awesome.
And you're just back from a what you think the future of Angular will be session. So you liking the conference so far?
It's very good. We
lot of
always like Devoxx. It's great to be here.
Well, I think you had kind of a hockey stick thing going on last
Yes.
year around Devoxx. Not sure this is really
We're giving
related.
Devoxx all the credit.
Okay, great. So let's step back for a second. Angular, for anybody that's been living under a rock for the past couple of years now, I guess. What are we talking about?
We're talking about framework for building client-side web applications with HTML and JavaScript, CSS. We focus on developer productivity and combining all these new all these web technologies into something that is really pleasurable to use and is also scalable and testable, so that you can build big applications or small applications.
Wow.
Depending on what you need.
It's buzzword compliant. Awesome. So we're talking MVC type of framework. We're talking data binding. You want to say a word quickly about that?
Sure, data binding, it's just a way from getting the data from the heap memory objects into the DOM and backwards. So
And back.
So that if the user interacts with the DOM through the input fields, etc., we update the memory in response.
Directives, scopes, other major important concepts in.
I think directives is unique because it's something that it's unique to us. Nobody else has this particular thing, and the idea is extending the vocabulary of HTML.
Dependency injection. One of you mentioned that. That's important.
So dependency injection is just a way of assembling all the objects and wiring the application together, which is great because you don't need to do it by hand, and also makes the testability story much better.
So in a year that you've had that, I think, tremendous success, what are the interesting or surprising things you've seen people do with Angular? Has it been taken and used in unusual places? Is it exactly what you had expected?
All the time. We keep on being surprising about being surprised about things people do with Angular.
Like putting it in a car.
Putting it in a car, seeing all kinds of visual things like drawing diagrams in a declarative way, like taking text and translating that into diagram. We've seen slides, we've seen games, mobile applications.
Mobile apps on iPhone.
So I hear here at Devoxx, the thing on the screen, the big screen, is actually built with Angular?
Yes.
So it's really all over the place.
Yeah, when we started with Angular, we really meant it to be a way of building enterprise applications, but people have taken it in very different directions, and it's surprising to see what they can do with Angular.
What you mentioned in one of the session was that you felt really well about the fact that people are actually building stuff they weren't able to build before, or not in with the same productivity. So you could actually get something done in a weekend, whereas before it was like this whole scaffolding and dragging libraries and then.
Right. I mentioned it before, but it's really nice when I talk to people and they say, hey, I was able to build this app that otherwise it wouldn't exist, weren't for Angular. And I feel really good about it because I feel like these applications can really change the way people interact and how they do things, and how technology can make lives better.
So let's see, you talked about, there's been a number of new things. So first of all, Angular 1.2 was released.
Finally.
Finally, just in time for Devoxx. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if it's related. It was very close and we were heading for Devoxx, so like, yeah, it's time, just cut it.
Well, it's Devoxx-driven development, right? DDD.
DDD.
There we go. So animations, who wants to talk about?
Yes, animations are awesome. I think something that we're very proud of. It's a very unique take on animations. I think most frameworks just give you a bunch of APIs to use, and we kind of stood back and said, how could the animations look like if this was just designed from the scratch? How can we do it all declarative? and so on. And so we really focused on just making CSS-based animations just work out of the box. So if you want to add animations, it's as simple as just adding a whole bunch of CSS animation code.
Don't use too much of it though. Not too many. I mean, animations, you don't want to overdo it.
No, you don't want to overdo it, but you want to make it easy for people, right?
Yes.
So that you want to have a subtle animation that helps in getting the point across, rather than just animation for animation's sake.
Right, it's not just for being pretty. There's
Yes.
a purpose. There's UX concerns with it. Do you want to talk about improved error messages? I think that's an important one. I mean, a day-to-day improvement that
Right,
makes a
so
difference.
this is one of the things that bothered me personally, because when I see people struggle with their applications when they don't know what is happening and they get very unhelpful error messages, it's not a good spot to be in, because not only the application is not working, but now you're getting some information that is not helpful in getting you from this bad place. So what we did with Angular is we identified all of the all the places where we throw error exceptions from, and we gave them unique identifiers and gave them very descriptive error messages, and also link them to a documentation page where this error message is described in a much larger scope, and it describes the situations where the errors happen. But as we were adding these error messages, we were quickly realizing that we're adding bytes to AngularJS, and that's never a good thing for client-side code. Like, you want to keep the payload small. So one thing that we came up with was, hey, let's just strip all these error messages from the minified file, but make it possible to reconstitute the error messages on the server just by clicking on a link if you had the need to debug something in production. Okay. So that gives you the possibility of debugging things in production. Have you had the need? Right. As well as smaller payload. But in development you get full error messages and everything is the way it should be.
The way you expect it. So speaking of development, what is the typical developer environment for somebody that's using Angular? What do you see out there, or do you recommend anything?
I don't think we recommend anything. Maybe people use Sublime from VI to Emacs to, the standard stuff, right. Eclipse.
Which is probably one of the nice things about
WebStorm.
Angular,
I personally use WebStorm.
Not prescriptive in that sense.
But there is now a couple of IDEs that are actually building it in. I believe NetBeans. I've seen something from JBoss, was it?
I don't know about JBoss, but WebStorm has a decent support for AngularJS. NetBeans is working hard on adding stuff. But from the whole workflow, what I'm happy about is how Angular encourages the test-driven development, and developers actually take this advice and use test-driven development technique to build their applications. Tools like Karma really help with that, and I'm just glad to see that in practice.
So let's talk about the future. So one question I think you guys get quite often is, well, standards are showing up. There are things like web components. How does that influence the roadmap and what you guys are doing with Angular? Does it clash with what you've done already?
No. So we actually talked about it in our Future of Angular talk, and how we would like to be on top of it, and how web components, and specifically
the observe part?
Shadow DOM?
Shadow DOM. How specifically Shadow DOM is helping us making that happen. Object observe is another area, DOM mutation observers, and so on.
So all the dirty checking that you're doing today is something that would go away with?
Yes, with Object Observe.
Okay.
And it's a standard we helped write, so.
Yeah, you've influenced it?
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
The other thing you talked about was how you'd like for developers to be able to use parts of Angular without kind of dragging the whole thing, so maybe just the dependency injection for...
Right. So I personally believe that modularization will be a key component of the web development, or the whole web ecosystem in the future. And this is what we would like to take to our hearts and break Angular into smaller pieces, each focused on one particular task. For example, you mentioned the dependency injection. There is no reason why dependency injection needs to be built into Angular. We can just extract it, create a separate library out of it, and then use it in Angular. But you can also use it without Angular in Node.js application or some other application.
Or anywhere. Good. Any other things you find important in terms of the things the feedback you've gotten, that you've taken, and that you think will influence the future of Angular?
So one of the things that we would like to do more is get more of the community feedback on things we are doing.
What's a good channel for that?
Definitely follow our Twitter and Google Plus feeds. We're going to be sharing some of the proposals for the future versions of Angular and things that we want to do, and we would like community to help us by providing feedback on these proposals and help us with reviews and stuff like that.
Okay. So we're at Devoxx. One of the big announcements here was Dart 1.0. I hear there's an intersection with Angular. Do you want to
There is.
cover what happened there?
So we would like you to have a choice in which language you want to use. And in JavaScript, you have CoffeeScript and so on. And all of these are semantically equivalent to JavaScript, so you can just use AngularJS out of the box with them. But Dart is semantically a little different. And so we actually made a port of Angular on top of Dart, and it's actually used internally at Google. So it's there's real apps running on it as opposed to just hypothetical.
Right, in production at Google.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
Right. So at Google, currently we run both the Dart applications and JavaScript applications. So, because one thing that we see is that language is such a sensitive topic among developers. Like, there are people who have different backgrounds, who have different preferences, and you can't just tell them, this is the only thing that you can use.
Yes.
And it really is up to the project, up to the team to pick whatever they feel comfortable and productive in, and use that technology. And Angular now gives them the option to go either with Dart or JavaScript.
Great. So where should people go to find out what's available today, 1.2, and the future? Obviously the website, AngularJS.org.
Yep, AngularJS.org, and on Twitter it's at AngularJS, and Google++ AngularJS.
Right. You guys are having a conference soon, I hear, an Angular conference?
Yep. We have really awesome community, if we haven't mentioned it, and some of the members of the community are throwing AngularJS conference, which we are taking part in, and this will take place in January, mid-January, and
So
we're really looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that one. Thank you guys. Wish
Thank
you
you.
all the best for the future, and thanks for
Alexei.
watching.
Thank you.